Night settles over the empire's outskirts. The village rests under the stars. Behind the mountains, mist moves through the dark. A skeleton sits quietly while a young girl stands before him, meeting his gaze for the first time. The girl stares wide-eyed, shocked. "A kid," the skeleton mutters in surprise. He turns toward her, confused. "What are you doing out here at this hour?" Without warning, the girl grabs his skull and stretches his face. The skeleton freezes, completely caught off guard. The girl's eyes sparkle with excitement as she grabs the skeleton's head. "A talking skeleton," she shouts. She keeps squishing his skull like it's a toy, completely ignoring his panic. The skeleton finally lifts her up by the collar, clearly done with her antics. "Enough," he says firmly. The skeleton sits under a tree, speaking calmly. He's seen many kids lost before, but none brave enough to touch him. He tilts his head slightly. "Didn't they teach you to run from things that aren't human?" The girl smiles, eyes bright. "I was taught not to judge by appearances." The skeleton pauses, then replies softly, "I see." The skeleton sighs, sounding almost tired. "For the first time in ages, I felt sentimental. And then some weird kid shows up." The girl leans forward, curious. "Who are you, sir? You've got a strange sword. Are you a knight?" The skeleton rests a hand on his blade. "I'm a herald, a messenger who carries the emperor's word across the land. Right now, I guard this mountain with the demon's sword, and no, it's not cursed." The girl's eyes light up. "The emperor's messenger? You must be super strong." The skeleton clears his throat, pretending to stay humble. "Ahem? Ahem. That's right." He gestures toward his glowing sword. Carrying the emperor's word isn't something just anyone can do. Dark energy pulses from the blade as he explains, "You need to master advanced magic, like necromancy." The girl kneels down, grinning. "Wow, you're really strong, aren't you, sir?" The skeleton corrects her. "I'm not, sir." She clasps her hands with determination. "Then please take me as your disciple. I want to be strong." The skeleton's eyes glow faintly as he smirks. "Just when I was getting bored of this repetitive grind." The skeleton leans back, rubbing his head. "But no, it's too much trouble." The girl clenches her fists. "Isn't this the part where you accept me as your disciple?" She starts yelling, shaking him by the cloak. "I'll just do it, old uncle." "You jerk. Emotionless bone. Heartless skeleton." He stares blankly, unimpressed. "Whatever else, I'm definitely not your uncle." Morning sunlight breaks through the clouds, marking the start of a calm new day. The skeleton relaxes under a tree, arms behind his head, finally at peace. His sword rests beside him. Suddenly, the girl jumps right over him with a loud screech, catching him completely off guard. The skeleton sighs, watching her swing his stick. "No, really, kid. Aren't you going home?" She grins. "Since you'll teach me swordsmanship, I'm not going anywhere." Pointing at her, he warns, "Go home. Your parents will get worried. People already mistake me for a child-snatching monster." The girl waves it off without looking back. "Don't worry about that." Flames engulf a house, the fire raging uncontrollably. "My house burned down," she says quietly. "My parents died in that fire too." The skeleton stands silent, unsure how to respond as she continues. "My mom told me I had to get strong if I wanted to survive alone. Now into the morning sun." She grips her stick firmly. "So I have to get strong." Her hand tightens around the wooden stick, determination burning in her eyes. She turns with a confident grin. "You understand, right?" The skeleton stares silently, a faint memory flashing in his mind. Someone else once stood before him with that same fearless smile. The skeleton lets out a long sigh. "Huh." Finally giving in, she says, "Fine, I'll teach you swordsmanship." The girl lights up. "Wow, really?" The skeleton crosses her arms. "Yes, a woman of honor shouldn't keep refusing a child's request." The girl freezes, wide-eyed. "You're a woman?" The skeleton raises her hands, sighing. "Anyway, thank you. Yippee." The girl excitedly swings her stick around, pretending to fight. "Your Imperial Majesty, your people have suffered too much." Watching her play, the skeleton leans back and mutters softly. "So I shall teach that child to stand on their own." The skeleton's thoughts echo softly. That will be my atonement for failing to deliver your message. The girl trains fiercely, clashing her wooden sword against the skeleton's strikes, each blow sharper than the last. Later, they rest side by side beneath a tree, the forest calm again. The once lone messenger now has a reason to stay. The skeleton cuts through demonic beasts with her glowing purple blade while the girl munches on food nearby, completely unfazed. Later, the skeleton relaxes against a tree as the girl runs around, being chased by weak monsters. The skeleton suddenly notices the girl charging back at them with her stick raised, yelling fiercely, completely turning the tables. The skeleton raises her hands awkwardly while the girl grins, clearly up to something mischievous. That night, they both jump out from behind the bushes to scare a passing traveler, faces exaggerated and all. The man collapses instantly, completely fainted. The skeleton stares blankly while the girl bursts out laughing, proud of their success. The girl dozes off beside the skeleton, leaning against the tree, her laughter finally quieting into soft snores. The skeleton glances down as their hands meet, hers warm and small, his cold and bone. They sit together in silence, shoulder to shoulder, the peaceful air wrapping around them like a quiet promise. The girl charges forward with fierce determination, clashing blades with the skeleton in a burst of motion and speed. Her stance sharpens. She channels everything she's learned, the sunlight flashing across her blade as her expression turns focused and mature. Their movements blur together, teacher and student locked in a flawless rhythm of strikes and counters, their swords singing through the air in perfect sync. The girl leaps high, her expression fierce and determined as she swings down her blade with all her strength. She locks eyes with the skeleton mid-swing, her grin full of confidence, his calm and approving. A silent acknowledgement between master and student. Time skips ahead, 11 years later. The once reckless girl is now grown, standing in a quiet lake surrounded by trees, the world peaceful once more. The skeleton stands by the trees, calling out casually, "Kid, let's eat," his tone the same as always. From the water's edge, a now-grown voice answers softly, "Huh, Ani." The girl steps out of the lake, older, confident, and smiling. "I'll help you in a minute," she says, the sunlight glinting off her soaked hair. As the food cooks over the fire, the girl's voice breaks the silence. "You know, Ani," she sits across from the skeleton, her tone uncharacteristically serious. "I have something to say." The skeleton pauses mid-bite, tilting her head. "What's with the sudden serious face?" she asks, a hint of curiosity in her tone. She looks down at her bowl, her tone quiet. "It's about my old village. It vanished recently." The skeleton listens as she continues. "They say everyone left after the monsters multiplied. The Empire abandoned that place. There's no hope left." A pause. The skeleton stares ahead, the firelight flickering across her face. "Everyone gave up," she repeats softly, the words heavy in the air. The girl looks down, hesitant but determined. "Hey, Ani, I've gotten pretty strong now." The skeleton leans back, her tone teasing. "You want to be a hero or something?" She folds her arms, sighing. "I've taught you for 11 years. I already know what you're planning." The skeleton's voice softens. "My friend once said the same thing. He wanted to be a hero to help people." Her tone grows nostalgic. Even when everyone laughed, saying he wasn't qualified, he said, "You don't need qualifications to save people." The skeleton stands pulling out a dagger. "As Benrira, inheritor of the northern hunting arts, and as your master," she holds a blade out with both hands. "I give this dagger to my beloved disciple." Benrira raises the dagger to the sky, her tone solemn. "Draw it only with pure intentions." She extends it toward her disciple, her hollow eyes steady. "Go save the world," she says softly, "and come back." Their hands meet around the dagger's hilt, a silent promise between master and student. Benrira says softly, "I'll always wait for you here." The girl smiles brightly, raising the dagger high. "I'll be back, Auntie." Benrira raises her hand in farewell. "How many years will it take?" she wonders aloud. Her student keeps walking, cloak swaying. 5? 10? It'll surely be a long time. Benrira stands under the lone tree, gazing at the path ahead. I'll just guard this place until then. As the wind catches her cloak, she walks forward without looking back. No matter how many years pass, it doesn't matter. Benrira's thoughts echo. That child will surely save the world and return. The old sword, now wrapped and resting quietly, stands against the tree like a silent monument. Her voice fades, calm and patient. I just need to wait. It was such a short time, a fleeting bond, a passing encounter. Though I stood alone again, unlike before, waiting no longer filled me with dread. Benrira sits quietly beside the wrapped sword, vines curling around it. The silence feels peaceful, a guardian waiting, forever patient. A small voice breaks the silence. Did you get lost too, sir? Benrira looks down, startled, then chuckles softly. Huh, I told you, I'm not your auntie. She pauses, a faint sadness in her tone. It's been so long. I forgot. A bloodied smile stretches across her face as she collapses to the ground. Hi, Aunt. Benrira freezes. Her empty eyes widen in disbelief. The girl grins weakly, her voice trembling but bright. Long time no see. Her hand trembles as she presses against her injured leg, blood soaking through the bandages. Benrira leans forward, shocked. Kid, you. But before she can finish, the girl bursts into laughter. Aha! It was an incredible adventure. Her smile brightens through the pain. The empire was so vast, far beyond what I imagined. Everywhere I went, new sights, new things. She looks down at her bloodied hands, smiling faintly. But there were also so many monsters, terrifying ones. So I helped people with what you taught me. Her voice softens. Then they started calling me a hero, but to the Emperor, I was a thorn. Her tone darkens. He said I was undermining imperial authority and ordered my death. Before she can say more, Benrira wraps his arms around her, pulling her close. The weight of years apart melts into that single, wordless embrace. Her head tilts forward, voice trembling. Sorry, sir. I feel a little dizzy. She smiles faintly through labored breaths, hugging him tighter. How have you been, sir? Did you cry when I was gone? Her bloodied hand grips his cloak. Now I want to hear your story. Her voice weakens, trembling with each word. Sir, your story. Benrira holds her limp body, his hands trembling as he supports her weight. The air falls silent, heavy with everything left unsaid. His hollow eyes widen, staring at her pale face. A faint purple glow flickers deep within his empty socket, an emotionless void, trying to hold back grief he can no longer express. Armored soldiers march through the forest, weapons drawn, their laughter cruel and hollow. One of them sneers, "Damn it, that damn hero. Couldn't he just die quietly?" The commander glares at his men. Quiet. Search the area. His tone leaves no room for questions. The commander turns his head sharply, spotting a shadowed figure standing among the trees. What the hell? A person. He scoffs, raising his voice. Hey, done sightseeing? Pack your crap and get off this mountain. Benrira lowers his gaze, gripping his weapon tightly as a faint purple light seeps from beneath his wrappings. The word echoes in his mind. Mountain. His voice deepens, rumbling through the dark forest. You still think this place is a mountain? The ground trembles as the shadows around him twist and pulse with his anger. A violent surge of purple energy bursts from his body, his eye blazing with fury, an unholy light that pierces the night. A soldier's scream cuts through the forest as a dark tendril pierces his armor, dragging him into the shadows. Dozens more emerge from the ground, twisted, purple-eyed abominations tearing through the ranks. The soldiers' cries turn into chaos. Benrira's voice echoes through the night, calm but filled with rage. 120 years ago, while traveling as a messenger, I found remnants of the Demon King's army here. The purple glow intensifies, swallowing the forest whole. Benrira's voice is cold, detached. I ripped out their guts, crushed their skulls, chop them into pieces. A fallen knight's body lies twisted on the ground, purple energy snaking through the air. Their corpses piled up, buried beneath the soil, and a forest grew over it. The entire scene glows red as if soaked in blood. That became this place. His tone softens, almost regretful. I stayed here to guard it, afraid necromancers might use it. Benrira stands motionless, eyes hollow, the red background pulsing like a heartbeat. But that's no longer necessary. The undead and soldiers clash violently around him, blades cutting through screams. The knight commander yells over the chaos, raising his sword. Everyone calm down and form ranks. Blood sprays as another soldier falls beside him. Gripping his bleeding arm, the commander grits his teeth. A necromancer can only command so many undead, no matter how many corpses they've got stored. But his voice shakes, betraying the fear creeping into his heart. The knight's voice trembles. If we just wait a little longer, his eyes widen as dread sets in. Another soldier freezes in horror, staring up at the sight, his face pale beneath the mask. The silence before the storm feels heavier than death. A wave of undead charges forward, ghastly knights, flaming skeletons, and twisted beasts glowing purple. Necromancy, powerful enough to summon an undead legion, echoes through the chaos. One terrified soldier swings his weapon, screaming, "Who the hell are you?" The scene cuts to the knight commander, blood splattering across his armor as he chokes out, "Who am I?" His words fade into the unnatural purple light flooding the battlefield. The commander stumbles back, his body twisting as a massive shockwave of red energy erupts ahead. The skeletal knight charges, its flaming weapon cutting through the haze. A voice echoes in the void, cold, calm, and filled with ancient fury. "You asked who I am." The skull-faced warrior raises his enormous crimson blade, aura flaring violently. "I am the one who has waited here for over a century." A chilling voice cuts through the air. "I am the Emperor's mouthpiece, the voice of the Empire." The skeletal figure raises his sword overhead, purple lightning coiling around the blade as his hollow eyes blaze with power. He brings the sword down with earth-shattering force, cracks splitting the ground as waves of necrotic energy surge outward. The battlefield trembles under his wrath. The ground shatters outward from the skeletal knight's strike, a crater splitting the land apart as the air trembles with power. His voice spreads across the empire like a divine decree. "Citizens of the empire, heed the herald's words." Far away, a boy peers out his window, eyes wide in confusion. What? Lightning rips through the crimson sky, mountains trembling as dark energy sweeps the land. What is happening? He whispers, as the world itself seems to scream in response. Amid the trembling mountains, the earth begins to pulse with dark energy. A voice echoes, heavy and divine. Should the empire stray from the founding emperor's will? A monstrous, glowing claw slams into the ground, cracks spreading under its weight. From the shadows, an army of glowing-eyed undead rises. I grant permission to nobles and loyal subjects to correct the empire. A massive army of undead rises beneath a blood-red sky, their eyes glowing as a dark figure looms above them like a god of death. The skeleton knight stands atop a mountain of bones, cloak billowing as the storm rages around him, silent, unshakable, absolute. Far away, molten cracks split the ground open, the earth itself reacting to the chaos spreading through the land. His voice turns cold and distant. "My former homeland." The skeletal knight's hollow eyes burn with purple fire as his voice echoes like judgment from the grave. "Pay the price for tyranny." Heavy footsteps pound against the wet ground as the knight stumbles forward, breathing hard. He looks up to see smoke rising in the distance, an entire village burning under the blood-red sky. With desperation in his voice, he gasps, "A V village," and rushes toward the chaos. The soldiers in the burning village tense up as something moves in the distance. One of them manages to stammer, "We're..." Before he can finish, a soldier is impaled by a glowing purple claw, his scream echoing through the blood-red sky. Alive, a voice shouts over the chaos. Multiple undead spotted on the southern outskirts of the village. The commander's voice cuts through the chaos. All standby units, gather at once. One soldier grabs a pulsating, grotesque orb radiating with purple energy. It whispers faintly, "Sunflower." He responds coldly, "Roasted potatoes." The orb lights up ominously. Boom! A massive explosion rips through the battlefield, engulfing everything in fire and violet smoke. A massive purple creature looms over the burning village, its tendrils twisting through the air as it surveys the chaos below. Two knights watch in horror. One trembles and mutters, "This isn't the work of some simple necromancer." Dark winds tear through the battlefield, the sound of marching echoing through the smoke. The ground shakes as an endless horde of undead soldiers and beasts charge forward. This is an army. The soldiers freeze as a voice shouts from behind them, "Everyone, out of the way!" The air vibrates with killing intent. A man steps forward. His name echoes through the chaos. Benrira. He grips his sword, red energy flaring around him like fire. Benrira's eyes narrow, his focus razor-sharp. The next instant, he vanishes from sight, moving faster than anyone can follow. Benrira's blade slices clean through a monster's neck. Its head snaps back, purple energy bursting out like smoke. He launches himself high above the battlefield, sword glowing white-hot as undead riders charge below. His eyes narrow, jaw clenched, pure focus and fury as he prepares to strike again. Benrira stands tall in the haze of battle, his sword still dripping with the energy of his last strike, surrounded by fallen undead. A new figure appears, wiping blood from his mouth with a smirk. A necromancer capable of raising an army. Just what kind of bastard is he? Official knight of the Empire, Escher Soma. His eyes darken, a cold resolve settling in. He's not planning to retreat. He's ready to fight. A massive, flame-like silhouette looms over the burning village, its eyes glowing through the smoke. Escher Soma cracks his neck, eyes locked forward. That's him. His tone is calm, but there's tension in his stance. The towering undead creature looks down, purple fire swirling across its skull-like face. It senses a worthy opponent. The necromancer's massive hand rises, holding a skull-like mask. His presence radiates dark power. Escher looks up as the necromancer stands tall in the palm of a giant undead hand, commanding an entire army of corpses. He tightens his grip on his sword, smirking. For a sorcerer who should be hiding behind his undead, to step onto the front lines himself. Escher's grip tightens on his sword as his aura flares. The air itself seems to vibrate with his power. The undead soldiers brace their weapons, dark energy coursing through their bodies as they prepare to strike. The necromancer commands the charge, his massive figure glowing in purple fire. Benrira. The clash is about to begin. The necromancer flinches as Escher's sword grazes his side, a flash of pain cutting through his cold expression. From above, the towering undead soldiers close in, surrounding Escher as he readies his blade, his aura bursting outward like a shockwave. The giant undead roars furiously, gripping the necromancer protectively in its palm as the ground trembles beneath its rage. The necromancer's massive undead soldiers regroup, forming a wall of twisted bodies as the ground shakes beneath their feet. He looks down, eyes narrowing at the wound on his leg. Escher's slash had struck from an angle that shouldn't have been possible. A brief flash of memory crosses his mind. Someone once wounded him the same way. The faint image of a woman bleeding on the ground flickers before his eyes. The necromancer's hollow eyes glow brighter, his voice echoing through the battlefield, cold and haunting. "Was that you?" He tilts his head upward, his aura flaring violently as the black flames twist around him, shaking the air. Escher grits his teeth, muscles tensing as he charges forward with all his might, his sword cutting through the crimson haze. The ground splits apart as an enormous surge of energy erupts, leveling buildings and sending debris flying through the crimson sky. The necromancer descends through the smoke, his blade dragging behind him, crackling with dark energy that splits the earth. Escher meets him head-on, their blades clashing in a blinding flash of light, sparks bursting as the sheer force of impact shakes the battlefield. Escher locks blades with the necromancer, his eyes sharp and focused, pushing back against the overwhelming force of dark magic. The necromancer's skull mask tilts to the side, dark energy flaring as if amused by Escher's defiance. Both warriors clash again at close range, sparks and magic tearing through the air as their strength collides head-on, shaking the ground beneath them. The necromancer raises his arm just in time, blocking the blinding strike with a spark of dark magic that cracks the air around them. Escher swings in a wide arc, his blade glowing white as it cuts through the crimson haze, forcing the necromancer to retreat. The necromancer counters with a fiery burst of necrotic energy, his fists slamming into Escher's side and sending him staggering backward. Escher drops to one knee, gripping his leg as pain shoots through it, his expression tightening in frustration. The necromancer takes the opening, lunging forward with eerie speed, his skeletal arm drawing back for a killing blow. With his hollow eyes glowing, the necromancer swings his fist down, the air around him twisting with dark energy, ready to crush his opponent. The necromancer slams into Escher, driving him into the ground with brutal force as the impact cracks the stone beneath them. Escher grits his teeth, blood running down his face, but his glare stays locked on his opponent, pure defiance burning in his eyes. The necromancer grips his staff tightly, dark energy beginning to pulse through it, building toward another devastating attack. The necromancer brings his blade down with a roar, the impact exploding into a shockwave that sends debris flying in every direction. Escher grits his teeth and blocks, light and darkness clashing between them in a blinding flash that lights up the sky. The necromancer's skull tilts, a sinister grin forming as cracks begin to glow across the bone, something inside him stirring to unleash even more power. Escher swings his blade in a clean arc, the force slicing through the air as the necromancer barely twists away, his tattered cloak whipping around. The necromancer lands silently, his skeletal feet scraping the cobblestone as he steadies himself, his empty eyes fixed on Escher. Escher spits blood and growls, his voice trembling with rage. "You monster bastard," as his grip tightens around his sword. Escher wipes the blood from his mouth, his chest heaving as he forces a smirk. "Pushing me this far, not since the 4 nights." He glares at the figure cloaked in darkness. "Who the hell are you?" The necromancer lifts his head, the shadows curling around his skeletal face as his hollow voice echoes. "An avenger." Escher narrows his eyes, breathing heavy, calculating. "I need to drag this out longer, maybe provoke him harder." Escher smirks, his teeth stained with blood. "An avenger? Hey, idiot. Whose revenge?" he mocks, his voice dripping with arrogance. The necromancer tilts his skull slightly, his tone disturbingly calm. "We've killed so many. You think I know who you mean?" Escher exhales sharply, his body trembling from exhaustion. Necromancy consumes an enormous amount of stamina. He realizes, his eyes darting toward the enemy, searching for an opening. Escher's thoughts sharpen. The farther and the more he controls, the greater the toll. If he can just hold out a little longer, the necromancer will burn himself out. A sudden voice cuts through his thoughts. "Hey!" Before Escher can react, a pale hand slides across his throat, the necromancer's eerie calm returning as the tension spikes again. Escher grips his blade, trying to force the necromancer's hand away, but the undead's strength doesn't falter. His face remains eerily calm as energy crackles between them. Escher's eyes widen, veins popping, a flicker of fear breaking through his rage as the necromancer's hollow gaze pierces into him. A cold voice echoes. "You act proud of killing people? The words hit harder than any strike, freezing Escher in place. The necromancer steps forward, his voice trembling with fury. What's so glorious about slaughtering imperial citizens? Escher grits his teeth, blood dripping from his lip as the words sink in. Just for some rotten power. The necromancer tightens his grip on the blade, his voice cracking with rage. Hero, you even killed my child. The necromancer's hand digs deeper into Escher's face, crushing his jaw as blood seeps from his mouth. Escher's eyes widen in sheer terror, pupils trembling. The rage in the necromancer's voice is cold and steady. The necromancer slams his hand into Escher's face, forcing his head back as the ground beneath them cracks from the pressure. With a fierce roar, the necromancer drives his knee upward and swings his blade, sending Escher flying backward like a rag doll. Escher crashes into a wall with a thunderous impact, debris exploding around him as blood splatters across the rubble. Escher spits blood, laughing through the pain. Monster bastard, whining nonstop. His grin widens, eyes gleaming with madness. It was all for the greater cause of the Empire. Just a necessary death. The necromancer tilts his head slightly, his tone cold. Then you dying here by my hand today must be necessary too. He pauses, his voice dropping to a growl. No, this isn't necessity. This is justice. Escher kneels in front of the crater, bloodied but grinning. Sorry to disappoint you, he mutters. But not today. A crack of light pierces the sky, splitting the air with a deafening hum as energy gathers above him. The necromancer's eyes widen. He senses the surge of power. Something massive is coming. What is that? A massive beam of blue energy shoots up from the ground, ripping through the crimson sky. The entire city trembles as multiple beams erupt across the skyline, piercing the heavens and lighting up the chaos. Inside the underground control chamber, mana cubes hum to life. Install mana relays along each barrier wall. Circuit stability confirmed. A team of mages reports from underground. 155 mana batteries fully connected. Anti-undead protective barrier ready for activation. The sight is grim. Skeletal hands grasp from the floor as if feeding the system itself. Escher grins wide, blood dripping from his mouth. Mission complete. The command echoes through the city. Activate the anti-undead protective barrier. A surge of blinding blue light shoots from the ground, forming a massive dome of energy that ripples across the battlefield. The mountain at the center of the valley begins to tremble, a brilliant ring of blue light forming around its peak. The ring expands, glowing brighter as energy spirals upward, splitting the crimson sky in two. A blinding wave of mana bursts outward from the mountain, flooding the land with light and forcing the dark mist to retreat in every direction. The glowing blue wave surges closer, flooding through the streets and walls of the city like a divine tide. Undead soldiers scream as the light burns through them, their dark energy unraveling into smoke and ash. Imperial knights tighten their formation, gripping their weapons as the undead forces crumble before the oncoming light. A knight raises his weapon in triumph, shouting, "They are vanishing," as the battlefield begins to clear. The wounded man smirks, blood dripping from his lip. Your entire undead legion has been wiped out. The necromancer's shadow trembles, faint sparks of blue light tracing through his form. This shield generator, the knight continues, was crafted by the wizard of the hero's party, hailed as the greatest in history 120 years ago. He glares. Even you won't last long here. The necromancer looks down at his crumbling arm and mutters, I know. A mysterious voice echoes, almost nostalgic. That fool had an oddly obsessive craftsmanship. The man looks up in confusion, scanning the battlefield. The necromancer glares at the knight. The army doesn't matter. I can always raise another. And those who stand with me, you created them yourselves. Shadows of the fallen begin to emerge behind him. The people you've exploited all this time. His eyes glow bright purple, rage and grief burning within. They'll rise with me for revenge. The darkness thickens as his voice echoes. Wait and see. With them, I'll bring the empire to its end. The old hero squad walks together, tired of fighting, hating the endless wars they were forced into. They move through a battlefield filled with bodies, showing how survival back then meant taking lives. Death was normal. Now one of them stands before a cheering crowd as a king, raising his staff proudly, thinking the age of blood and war is finally over. The king's image shatters like glass, breaking apart as if his legacy itself is collapsing. A lone figure walks away on a cracked surface, every step echoing the destruction of everything they once believed in. The memories of the hero party flash back, once united for a cause, now questioning it all. What have we even been fighting for? The masked figure walks across the shattered memories of fallen comrades, questioning if all that bloodshed was really worth it. He lowers his head, his voice trembling with doubt. He doesn't even know the answer anymore. Through the fog, he spots someone in the distance, an old shadow from his past, waiting. He stares into the sky, lost in thought, asking himself what he was even thinking when he first entered the battlefield. His head lowers, the weight of his past pressing down. Was he ever truly fighting for someone, or was it all just empty glory? He looks down at his cracked footing, voice trembling as he wonders. Without his comrades, what's left for him in this broken world? He drifts in a void of nothingness, lost between life and death, questioning where he even belongs now. For days later, the scene shifts to a snow-covered village in the far north. Quiet, peaceful, untouched by the chaos that happened. A rough hand slams a map down on the table. The man, clearly worn by travel, asks for directions. He'd lost his way heading north through the mountains. The stranger's voice cuts through the quiet tavern as he asks if anyone can show him the way. A rugged adventurer looks up from his drink, clearly annoyed, reminding the guy that this isn't a help desk, it's a guild. The hooded man keeps calm, holding up his worn-out map. He explains that this was the only place open and just wants directions before leaving. One of the adventurers stands up, furious that a stranger had the audacity to walk in uninvited, shouting about how shameless he is. Another guy, calmer but suspicious, stops him and smirks. He points out how odd this hooded traveler seems. Leaning forward, he narrows his eyes and says the man doesn't smell like a lost wanderer. He reeks of blood. The tension in the room spikes instantly. The man leans back with a sly grin, acting casual as he brings up a rumor that's been making its way around. He says that beyond the mountains, in a place called Chongtap Village, a necromancer wiped out a whole squad of knights and destroyed the town. His expression shifts, suspicion flickers in his eyes. He wonders if the quiet stranger in front of him might be that very necromancer. Before the man can finish his thought, the stranger attacks. A sudden burst of light explodes as the strike lands clean and fast. The man grins, barely fazed, and calmly asks if that rumor was actually about him. The hooded figure lowers his hand, his glowing purple eye flaring up. One word escapes his mouth: undead. The undead glares at them, his single glowing eye burning with rage as he mutters through clenched teeth, calling them bastards. He straightens up, his voice low but filled with power, warning them that they should have picked their fight more wisely. A burst of energy erupts from his body, shattering the floor as the blast surges toward the man still calmly seated at the table. The man brushes off the smoke from his shoulder, calm and unbothered, as if the explosion didn't even touch him. The undead stands tall in the middle of the wreckage while another cloaked figure lies in a crater, clearly the real attacker. The man narrows his eyes, realizing the sneak attack failed. He sighs, muttering that he has no choice now but to fight head-on. The order is given: kill him. The assassins leap into motion, blades drawn, aiming straight for the undead. The undead doesn't even flinch, looking almost annoyed as he says he just wanted directions, like this whole fight is an inconvenience. His tone shifts, voice colder now. Magic crackles around him as he declares that from this moment on, everything that happens is their fault. One of the fighters leaps high, sword raised, veins bulging as he screams out his intent to kill. He brings his blade down with brutal force, aiming to cleave the undead in two. But the skeleton doesn't even flinch. In a split second, glowing projectiles burst from the undead's body, piercing the man's chest before he can react. The undead's eye burns with a deadly purple light. The man's face twists in agony as a blast of energy rips through him, his expression frozen in shock before he collapses. The undead calmly lands after the attack, his glowing eyes locked onto the next opponent who's already charging forward. The second fighter swings his blade with everything he's got, aiming to slice the undead in half before it's too late. The second fighter lunges forward, unleashing a flurry of attacks, but the undead blocks them all effortlessly, sparks flying with each strike. In a blink, the undead grabs the man's sword mid-swing, crushing the blade with one hand as the fighter's eyes widen in disbelief. Before he can react, the undead seizes his collar, pulling him close, a silent warning written in the hollow glow of his eyes. The undead grips the man by the throat, lifting him effortlessly off the ground as the fighter's body thrashes in panic. With a brutal slam, the undead smashes him into the floor, sending cracks spreading through the ground. Before the dust even settles, more assassins leap from the shadows, knives drawn, surrounding the undead as they prepare to strike. A burst of energy explodes from the undead's attack, lighting up the entire area with a blinding flash. The undead spins midair, grabbing two assassins by their wrists and slamming them into each other with bone-crushing force. The remaining attackers freeze in shock, their eyes wide with fear as they realize just how outmatched they are. The undead slams both hands into the ground, sending a shockwave that shakes the entire area. Two assassins are blasted away, crashing into the walls with smoke and debris scattering around. The man watching from the sidelines looks around in disbelief, realizing the undead has completely disappeared from sight. The undead suddenly appears right behind the man, its hollow eyes locked on him. The man quickly reacts, grabbing a sword from the table and swinging it as the undead lunges forward. His eyes narrow with focus. This time, he's not underestimating his opponent. The man swings his blade with deadly speed, breaking tables and chairs apart as the undead barely manages to dodge. The undead's glowing purple eye flares up, realizing something's off about the attack. In an instant, the man twists his body. The earlier strike was just a distraction. His real attack comes from the left, cutting straight toward the undead. The man steadies himself, shifting his weight as he prepares the real attack. His blade flashes with intent. Before the strike lands, the undead catches his arm mid-swing, halting his momentum with raw power. In a blink, the undead lifts him and slams him down hard, cracking the floor beneath them. The force leaves the man momentarily stunned. The onlookers freeze, completely stunned by what they just witnessed. Their disbelief grows. The man who looked unbeatable was taken down in a single hit, buried under the rubble. The undead stands tall amidst the dust, silent and unshaken, its hollow gaze fixed forward as the air grows heavy. The two men freeze in fear as the undead turns toward them. One gulps nervously while the other can barely speak. The undead's purple eyes burn brighter, its voice echoing through the air as it demands, "Who are you?" The atmosphere turns heavy, suffocating. A deep, commanding voice cuts through the tension. Someone steps in, stopping whatever's about to happen. From the balcony above, a man with blonde hair steps forward and commands the undead to stop. His voice is calm, but filled with authority as he promises, "I can give you what you want." The onlookers below exchange shocked looks, whispering that this is the guild master himself. With a confident smile, the man introduces himself. "Welcome to the northernmost adventurers guild in the Empire. I'm Tor Vinland, the guild master here." Tor Vinland smiles confidently, introducing himself as the guild master of Garm, the Empire's northernmost adventurers guild. He gestures politely, suggesting they move somewhere private to continue their talk. The door to the guild master's office creaks open, setting a more serious tone for what's about to unfold. Inside, Tor begins casually, mentioning a rumor about a skeleton haunting the mountains near Changtap village. He says it's become a sort of scary bedtime story for adventurers, though his tone hints that he suspects there's more truth behind it. Tor explains how the guild had received multiple requests to confirm the truth behind the rumors of the skeleton in the mountains. They'd sent several search parties, but every group returned with nothing, so he dismissed it as a myth. The undead sits quietly, half in shadow, before laughing dryly. My, to think it was real. His hollow chuckle fills the room, unsettlingly calm. Tor closes his eyes and exhales, his expression unreadable, a mix of amusement and unease, as if he's both impressed and wary of what stands before him. The undead slams his fist on the table, cracking it. His tone is sharp and impatient as he growls, "Guild Master, I don't have the luxury of time." He leans forward, his eerie eyes glowing through the darkness. "It seems you want something from me, don't you? If you have business with me, let's get straight to it." Panel 3. Tor stays calm, folding his arms with a faint smile. After a pause, he replies evenly, "What we ask of you is simple." Tor pulls out a pack of cigarettes, his tone turning grim. "As you can see, this guild belongs to the Empire," he says, lighting one up. "But it's been neglected for far too long." He exhales a thin stream of smoke, his eyes heavy with frustration. The villagers flee their homes just to survive. Those who stay take on suicidal quests, desperate to protect what little they have. Every day, they tremble, waiting for monsters to strike again. He flicks ash into the tray, his voice dropping low. They're not really living anymore, just slowly waiting for death. The undead leans forward, voice sharp and mocking. "What? Are you here to whine about your pathetic lives? If you didn't want to die, you should have resisted the Empire." His gaze darkens, tone cold and final. "If you do nothing, nothing will change." Tor exhales slowly, cigarette between his lips, eyes heavy with regret. "It's not that we did nothing," he says quietly. Tor lowers his head slightly, cigarette dangling from his lips. His voice is quiet, heavy with defeat. "There was nothing we could do." The scene shifts to a view of barren trees and crows flying overhead. "The Empire abandoned this land," he continues. "Security fell to those left behind, adventurers who fought to protect what little they had. Every guild poured its strength into defending their own people." The undead's tone turns sharp and accusing. "So you all hid behind your walls," he says coldly. "Did you never consider forming an alliance? Joining forces to stand against the Empire?" Tor lets out a dry chuckle, smoke curling around his face. "You make it sound so simple," he says, half smiling. "That would mean war." He closes his eyes, taking a slow drag of his cigarette. "This isn't a problem courage alone can fix," he murmurs, voice weighed down with realism. The undead sit silently, eyes cold and hollow. "Because countless people would die, right?" he says softly. "So instead, you waited for someone else to appear and save you." The undead's tone softens, almost reflective. "We clung to life," he says quietly, desperately hoping for even a shred of hope. The scene shifts. A hand rests on a sword hilt glowing faintly with light. And then, the guild master continues, "She appeared." A bright figure steps into view, golden hair flowing, blue eyes burning with resolve. Text fades in over the light. "The hero." The image of barren branches stretches across the sky as Tor's voice turns wistful. "That warm hope pulled us out of despair. We thought, maybe, just maybe, she could save us all." The undead's hollow eyes stare back, his tone dark and bitter. "And you clung to that foolish hope." Empty speech bubbles fade in one after another. Where did it all go wrong? Was it our foolish hearts, our lingering attachments? A pause, then more quietly, "But meeting you today made me realize something." Tor's eyes glow faintly under the shadows, his voice low and cold. "What we lacked," he says, pausing, "was hatred. Dark energy fills the space, his words dripping with bitterness. It doesn't matter if there's no tomorrow. It doesn't matter if our homes burn. If we can kill them, we don't care if we die. His eyes flare crimson. Because that is war. The undead breaks the silence, his tone calm but firm. I want to make a request. Tor straightens, determination burning in his glowing blue eyes. I'll provide 2 adventurers who can leave immediately, he says firmly. And in the future, we'll gather everything we have to support you. His expression turns desperate, his voice trembling. A vengeful spirit, a demon, I don't care what you are. None of it matters. So please. Tor bows deeply, his hand clenched tight against the floor. Let all of us. Tor finishes his sentence, voice filled with resolve. Join your war. The undead sits calmly on the couch, his tone surprisingly gentle. My apologies. I didn't mean to wreck the guild, he says. And I bear some responsibility for letting the Empire run unchecked until things reach this point. He glances at the desk where an old request slip rests. It's been 150 years since I last accepted a request. Tor's eyes widen as he stares down at the red tag on his desk. This is... The tag gleams under the light, etched with ancient runes. A ruby rank adventurer's tag? Issued during the Great War. The highest rank that no longer exists. Tor looks up, disbelief etched across his face. Just who in the world are you? The undead rises, his cloak flowing like a shadow. Don't worry about that, he says quietly. I'm just a wretched ghost of the past. He turns toward the door, his voice echoing with purpose. I accept the request. To begin, we must go. His tone darkens. To the continent's largest and deadliest mountain range, where the snow never ends. With firm steps, the undead marches forward, his cloak fluttering behind him. To the northern mountains, a map unfolds, marking his journey, starting from the Northern Adventurers Guild, passing through Chontap village, and leading straight toward the frozen peaks. Benrira's route begins.